Oh.
Everybody's.
All right, wonderful.
Maybe we should have it over there so I have that.
Oh, this,
Thing.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I will put it on. Can you help us to go behind? All three of us? Yeah. Thank you so much. There, so we have the other side.
Yeah.
All right. So, I have my
Say poetry.
poetry. Poetry. Oh, this is great. Thank you so much with everything in. See? Hey.
Okay. Okay, so
I actually also have the poem printed out in English. I think
Oh, this is the third one.
and this is at home. It's very short, yeah. Oh, I was so hard to look at
Yeah,
this
the
thing.
third one is on here.
Yeah, the third one is in English. Yeah, I don't have
All right, that's the third thing. It's over, so.
Yeah, the third one is
All right.
wait for you. You like plum wine for the toast? Okay. Your tea? Oh, yes, ma'am. What about yours?
Oh, that's right.
I'm really gonna start now.
Hey, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for coming. Today is a very special day. It's the day of the Chinese New Year parade, and I'm really happy to see all of you here today. Yes, I will be participating in the parade today, so you might be able to see me on television. So it's the year of the snake, and I want everybody to look at our beautiful snake. It was made by people at the community potluck last week, a couple weeks ago. And so everybody made a little piece, and we put it together, and it's about 30 feet long, so that's a big snake. So before we start, I usually like to read a poem. So this poem is called Bashe the Mystical Snake. So it's a mystical snake in the Chinese legend. Bashe swallowed an elephant, licked the air with his flamed tines. Pregnant body made waves on sand, accompanied by thunder and wind. Venom dissolved flesh and blood, its coat freshened like blooming flowers. Spitted out the elephant's frame after 3 years, a heap of sad bones, white on white. How Yi shot down 10 menacing suns. He blinded Bashe with Rialga, wrapped around his arrow's tip, and slayed its snake with a mighty stroke. In the dark, dark place, without sun and moon, A stream was steaming toxic gas, like the endless wars not far away, like an elephant in a serpent's mouth. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, and we'll make our toast to poetry and poets. So everybody, cheers. And if you want to refill, you can always get more yourself. Hi, Sissa. Hi, Alan. And we're going to have Greg Pond, our host. And I'm going to be over on the other side today listening to the poetry because I have to get the kids ready for performance. But I'll be listening. Okay, thank you. Great.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the February edition of Third Saturday Poetry in Chinatown. And this afternoon, our features were scheduled Chun Yu and Michael Warr. However, Michael Warr is ill and able to join us, and the gentleman that he recommended, Kevin Dublin, is also sick, unfortunately. There's a lot going around, so definitely people be careful, wash your hands, stay safe, wear your mask, whatever you need to do to stay healthy. Anyway, with that being said, I have been commissioned to read some of Michael's work. So I hope I do it justice, and it's quite an honor to represent the work of Michael Warr. Anyway, this is quite an honor. But anyway, we have some open mic slots. So, and we don't have a large crowd, as you can see, but we also have a lot of things going on this weekend. Chinese New Year Parade and the All-Star Weekend, so people are doing lots of things. So I'm glad that you took the time to come here this afternoon. And that being said, we generally give out pens after a reading, so please, after you read, I'll have some pens over there, and they're colored. Some are metallic or gel, some have scents, smelly and whatnot. Hopefully they smell good. Anyway, the other thing is cell phone. If you have cell phone, please put them on mute or vibrate, something so it doesn't go off. And that being said, I believe our first open mic slot will be Rocio. And come up here. And I guess maybe about 3-4 minutes, somewhere around here. And if we end real early, then we can do maybe another round. But we do need to get out a little early because there's a lot of things going on this afternoon. So anyway, thank you.
This is called The Orange Rose Bush. It's a memoir. My mother planted rose bushes around the wrought iron fence she built. She planted bright crimson roses for favorite, and romantic white roses with their romantic petals flush pink at their edges. She planted tall, deep yellow roses. She planted a soft pink rose bush for my sister Louisa. The rose bush stood planted underneath the window of our room, the pink petals echoing the rose-pink walls of the bedroom we share. One day in December, she planted a miniature rose bush for me. She planted the rose bush next to the front door on the right-hand side. I planted this rose bush for you, she said. It was the last tangible gift my mother gave to me before her death in February. The small orange roses fascinated me. I felt joyous when after the rains in April, the tiny orange rose buds blossomed into perfect tiny orange roses after she died. One evening, I lay down on my bed to begin a raven meditation. The black raven flew and flew past dragon caves and their jeweled treasures glinting with the setting sun, past mountains and volcanoes. Finally, the raven flew and landed on one of the orange roses of the rose bush. I was flying with the raven on her back, watching the scenery around me rush past, watching the glint of deep violet feathers shining of the raven. I felt myself land with the raven onto the center of one fully open rose. It was very early morning in the darkness of the night in Bella of the rose bush. My mother had planted the rose bush under the wooden roof of my father's house, and raindrops spattered the roof and showered coldly around the rose bush. I felt cold and lonely and alone, with the rain shattering all around. I stared at the raindrops falling down around the raven and me. A raindrop became a teardrop. All the raindrops became teardrops, sweeping in torrents all around me, falling from the wooden roof onto the black earth, turning the soil into moist moss. And from deep down inside, I felt a wail. I wailed and wailed and cried. I wished the shock and pain of a child who had just lost her mother. I wept and wept, and it seemed as though my tears were mixing with my family's tears, as a parachute of teardrops fell all around. The teardrops rained and rained interminably, and with each sob of grief, I realized that deep down inside, grief was what I knew. The teardrops of my grief found crevices and caverns of wet black granite stones. My tears fell through the crevices into an unfathomably deep pool. The teardrops tinkled as they fell clink, clink into the black pool. And while I listened to the sounds of my tears, I felt myself becoming a small child. An old Indian woman with long black braids hanging down her chest was rocking me gently in her arms, my grandmother, and the raven had transformed into her. She wrapped me in a soft white blanket and placed warm drops of pine scented oil on my forehead. Thank you.
Our next reader will be Elizabeth Bailey.
Chrissy Field. There's a kind of edginess there, precipitous, foreboding, breathtaking, the original truth of this place. A treacherous accidental threshold, a bridge and amenities can't obscure. Do the jumpers sense the bittersweetness of beginnings and endings? Choose to die to it in sorrowful ecstasy. Over breakfast on New Year's Day 2025, I chose this place to walk headlong into, to bring my own trepidations to the shore, the place of forgiving and forgetting, to be lost in the hidden beauty, to take a grain of truth with me in remembrance. Write words, then cross them out and cut the connection. Rain fell and sky brightens. We speak to each other, we share and listen to. I sip hot cinnamon apple winter in San Francisco. Jazz popping in the cafe, cup and saucer clatter. This is the ambiance we soak in. right out from our hearts, warm and beating, despite the climate, local and global. No longer empty, my community cup fills up, leaving no room for separation. Connection has flowed into place, the space in and around us. The motto on the truck says a world without waste. We've been face to face with our throwaway society for decades. What we consume, we based in. Water, air, earth. What we eat is laced with plastic. We breathe poison particulates. We've been hasty with conveniences that we want and didn't know we needed. We've long had chances to make it right, thinking there was no end in sight. There are endings every day, points to pause and look back at the waste we've laid. Last one. This blue sky. Is it imaginary? My imagination? The blue that is not my mood, the blue that is a celestial fact. Foreshadowing clouds with painterly appearance, bear no affectation, neither staged or projected, or following a script that might just say, improvise. This blue sky is always there, even when obscured by clouds that are full of premonitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, I think we'll have one more open mic, and that will be Yolanda. And then we'll. Have you? Oh, you just said that first.
Thank you. This poem is called Sandy. Where is Sandy? One, he, she used to wear long, warm blanket on her shoulders, long, sometimes pinky black hair, while you could still see her Vietnamese features, long, unkept fingernails, walking with no socks, just sandals on Mission Street. He would stretch out his bony hand, asking for $1, which I would give him, her. Sometimes he would demand $1. How dare he? How dare a homeless person make a demand of society? I walk sometimes busy, sometimes empty streets of the Mission, wondering what happened to Sandy Nguyen, Nguyen. I also wonder what happened to the other homeless men from El Salvador. Sometimes they'd be sitting on concrete with murals people have given them. I asked about them. The guy from El Salvador is sometimes healing at the hospital, people tell me. This past December 21, 2024, I didn't get a chance to listen to the names of the homeless who have perished in the cold, icy, steel streets of San Francisco. Was Sandy Nguyen one of them? 3, Nguyen, real name of Ho Chi Minh, according to Jack Rushman's poem published, Arcanes, and one of the many poem Arcanes he wrote. I pray, dear God, don't stifle the rats that social injustice gives birth to. And the other one is, they stole our land, which not only Mexican people, but other people from Central America, from other countries walk on, to be able to work the land, sometimes breaking their limbs or falling to their deaths from 30-foot towers that were built to that height by 2017 President Trump after calculating the height a person could endure before losing consciousness and falling to their death. To the American people with a slight majority voted for him again. Anything is better than women's reproductive rights. The right to get pregnant from stolen ovaries, from stolen sperm. Ovaries and sperm which are used for bombs that killed Iraqis during the Iraq War. Bombs dropped from planes flown by young, attractive black women, as shown in post-war documentary on television. Or used for surveillance of Palestinians. The Palestinians, as the Palestinians conduct battles for their land. As shown in documentary 15-minute film in movie theater, The Dirtiest Little War. University campuses, administration under command of Sacramento Capital make sure America is the winner in that dirtiest little wars.
In the Middle East.
Thank you.
Okay. As I mentioned, Michael Warr is not here, and I have a couple of his poems that I'd like to share with you right now. And Chun Yu will be doing the Chinese translation after each of these poems. So have Chun come up after I've done the first one. To Your Assailant by Michael Warr. Do you call yourself God-fearing, devoted to do unto others? Does your God condone your violence, your ignorance, your corruption? Does your God hate your neighbor like you do? Does your God share your love for prophets bearing false witness, fueling your grievance fever? Do you swallow the lies they regurgitate? Do you really need a reason? Are you truly a true believer, or both God and golden calf? Does the all-knowing know you? Do they love you as you are? Does it matter that they are watching your naked depravity? Do you pray before you pray on innocence in this guilty world? Do you have your God's blessing? Or are you as godless as you seem? Did your father teach you to beat, demean, and maim? Is he proud of your cowardice? Does your mother say, "Well done, son"? Did they train you in backwardness? Do you feel bigger in your smallness, content with acts of uselessness? Is your inner bully seething still beneath your concealed surface? Are you comforted in your criminality, stupefied by superiority, simply insane, or lost? Who are you?
Thank you, Brett. And so Michael and I have a small, we call it, what do we say, community group called Two Languages, One Community. So we connect Chinese American community and the African American community with two languages, which is English and Chinese. It's two of the most spoken and written language in the world. So I'm just really honored to be here. So I read his poem, to your assailant, translated by me into Chinese. 致攻击你们的人，他们在攻击我们所有人。你自称敬畏上帝吗？你致力于己所不欲，勿施于人吗？你的上帝宽恕了你的暴力、你的无知、你的腐败吗？你的上帝像你这样仇恨你的邻居吗？你的上帝会认同你的带着假见证，让你的愤怒不平不断发烧的所谓的先知的爱吗？你吞下他们反复口吐的谎言吗？你真的需要理由吗？你是你的神和金牛犊真正的信徒吗？你那全知的神认识你吗？他们会爱这样的你吗？你在乎他们看着你赤裸的堕落吗？在袭猎这个有罪的世界上的无辜者时，你祈祷吗？你有上帝的祝福吗？还是像你看起来那样没有上帝？你的父亲教你去攻击、贬低和残害他人吗？他会为你的怯懦感到骄傲吗？你的母亲会说干得好，儿子吗？他们训练你倒退落后了吗？你卑鄙渺小时感到更强大吗？你满足于自己无意的行为吗？藏在你的表面下的恶霸还在沸腾吗？你在被优越性麻木了的犯罪中受到了安慰吗？是疯了，还是迷路了？你是谁
？Thank you, Chun. And this is the other of Michael's poems. This is Hallucinating at the Velvet Lounge to Malachi Thompson, written by Michael Warr. When Malachi blew his horn, I dreamed of cornbread, yellow mouths with burnt edges on the velvet's culinary altar. His sharp-cut riffs morphed into squares of cornbread islands, floating in streams of warm butter clinging to the ribs of my memory. Speaking in the trumpet tongues of passages and uprisings, ancient pain and good times jiving, sacred beats and blues timing, drive-by crying and signifying, an opiate inside of oppression, a cratered chunk of bacon-infused sweet potato, chicken smothered, maple pecan custard filled, smacking, crackling, jalapeno inflamed cornbread. The crepe of the slaves now sold at Whole Foods in this jazz-drenched town, built of golden bricks and smokestacks billowing fumes of corn on the cob and catfish. My mind lost in music and metaphysics, reminiscing the Sunday manna served beside my mother's succotash.
Well, you can imagine how hungry I was when I was translating this poem. It took a long time to translate this poem. And cornbread is one of my favorite American food. And we actually have something similar in China. It's just so comforting. And here we are. 天鹅绒酒吧里的幻想，致马拉奇·汤普森。当马拉奇吹响他的号，我梦想起玉米饼，金黄带着焦边，堆积在天鹅绒酒吧，
美食盛坛般的舞台上，它轮廓鲜明的即兴重复段演变为玉米饼的方阵，在黄油中漂浮，攀附在我记忆的肋骨上，以小号的语调，段落与起伏，古老的痛苦与好时光，共跳着摇摆舞。神圣的节奏和蓝调的定时，是飞车枪击般的悲泣与无奈下的嬉闹搞笑，还有压迫下的鸦片、麻醉，填满培根、甜薯、焖鸡、橄榄、凤糖、山核桃，奶黄让人直咂嘴巴的被辣椒点燃的玉米饼，奴隶的饼，在这绝世淫逸、金色砖块砌成的城市里的全食超市出售，叠叠烟囱喷吐着玉米和鲶鱼的烟气，我的头脑迷失在音乐与形而上学中，思念着我母亲的扁豆玉米羹，旁边的玉米饼，星期天的神凉美味。
I want me to thank Greg for organizing the event and reading so beautifully his poems. And he apologized again for being sick, but here we are. Thank you all so much. And I will be reading after the second set of the open mic my own poetry in 2 languages.
Thank you, Chun. That was wonderful. I do have one more poem by Michael, which does not have a Chinese translation, but I'd like to share it at this time and just give you a little bit of a history about the poem. This particular poem is entitled, "This is More Than a Wall." It was a commissioned poem that was written in response to the Arab Liberation mural, which includes a translation to the iconic Tunisian poem, "The Will to Live," as part of Warr plus Response, a series featuring poets responding to murals culminating in print portfolios of the murals and poems organized by San Francisco's Clarion Alley Mural Project in 2021. So this is the poem, "This is More Than a Wall," written by Michael Warr. Dreams escape our mouth as the velocity of hornets fleeing fire. Beneath the surface of our calloused and cultivated skin, we repel apartheid tagging, whitewashed aerosol sprayed in praise of uniform knees on our neck in the streets. Olive groves, buffer zones, chains of cells, labyrinth of garroting laws, or barrel of an Uzi, in the ceaseless invasion of every crease of life. All of this that you excrete will be washed away along with American gifted weaponry by the unrelenting rain of resistance and the threat of eventual peace. You may momentarily obscure the obvious by spraying over bravery with treachery, hiding truth with thickets of lies. Still, even your stomach turns silently, knowing that oppression nourishes its own demise through the gut-wrenching loss of all innocence, the strangling of simple movement, the daily dismantling of hope, dictating the most basic things that humans cannot do. Thank you, and thank you, Michael Warr.
Yes.
All right. Continuing on with the open mic, I have to to look at the sheet, but I do believe Gavin is up next. And please come up to the stage and share your poetry.
So I have two pieces to share with everybody here. My first piece is called Ghost in the System. Oh, USA, the land of the free. I came here with hope for a life meant to be. A place where dreams could grow and thrive. But here I am, just trying to survive. Not a citizen, not a person, just a tool, trapped in a system that treats me like a fool. They promised me a place, but I'm lost in the crowd, chasing a dream that I'm not allowed. I build their cities, I build their codes, I build their wealth. But where is my place, my freedom, my health? Home feels distant, buried in red tape. To return is a risk I can't escape. No vote, no say, just shadows and doubt. A ghost in the system, still trying to break out. They say this is the land of the free, but not for someone who looks like me. My second piece is called Plastic Devotion. This poem narrates a walk through the mall. It starts with a chase, not for deals, but for a space to park. Engines hum, tempers snap, we are racing just to stop. Finally, a spot, but the air is stale and sour, saturated with fakeness, leaving no room to breathe. Walking in, waves of people, same colors, same logos. Fabric swallowing flesh, sewing them into one mass. This is not just routine, it's a religion. A slow march to the Cathedral of More. And what is everyone chasing? A logo? A label? A quick fix? To numb the empty ache inside? The rats groan under the weight of desire. Voices clash. Does this look good on me? Like confidence comes tagged, like identity can fit inside a dressing room. And the smell, fake, just plastic pretending to be fresh. And the noise, overwhelming. Chatter bouncing off cold walls, words emptied of any meaning whatsoever. And then the family's packing. The kids learn the lesson early. Joy? Oh, that will cost you. A baby wrapped in labels, and the first lesson it is taught, oh, you are what you wear. And me? Yeah, I'm moving too. Just another face, another body, catching my own reflection, drifting past lights that promise everything. Names flashing more, but it all feels empty. And in that emptiness, we are stumbling towards the end. The crash of everything that we have worshipped, the ruin of all that we have built on greed and consumerism. Thank you.
Next up, I believe we have Alan Harris, Sarah, and then Larry. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention, to what's my attention, I don't know why I forgot, this is our 2nd year anniversary. started this in 2023, February, and we had Tongo and Jenny Lin as our features that night. So,
Oh, you know what? It's your year because I found out that 20, what, no, I think it was 2023, I think it's the year, no, you're the year of the rabbit. I think it's the year of the rabbit.
when
No, wait. Wait, I got it.
this is the year of the snake. This
That
is,
time, it's not the year of the snake. This is the-
yeah. All right. Thank you. Emmett.
Thank you. Happy post-Valentine's Day. My favorite time of the year. I'm sorry, I don't mean to stare. I'm just wondering what you look like without makeup. I bet that you're really beautiful. I bet that underneath all that primer and foundation and concealer and rouge and eyeliner and mascara and lipstick and lip liner pencil and highlighter and setting spray, there's a lovely face. Sweet, intelligent, and interesting in all its unadorned and natural comeliness, whose eyes sparkle when you're happy, whose nose crinkles up in the cutest way when you sneeze, whose mouth can form a smile that emanates a radiance bright enough to illuminate a path two people in love can take wherever it is they want to go. And why would you want to cover that up with cosmetics? Why would you deny the world, and by the world I of course mean me, the opportunity to see a face that offers so much visceral and intellectual pleasure to those lucky enough to gaze upon it without the calculation, disingenuousness, and artificiality of so-called beauty products? Why would you do that? I can't believe it's because you enjoy spending a good part of your day putting on and touching up a masking device that contains toxic chemicals, which over time will prove harmful to your organic charms. I suspect that it might have something to do with the fact that we still live in what is essentially a patriarchal society, where men still make most of the decisions, one of which is that women should practice a kind of cosmetically based subservience in an attempt to achieve a counterfeit perfection for the pleasure of the male of the species. Well, this member of the masculine gender doesn't subscribe to that notion of superficial and temporary attractiveness. This guy will always prefer the real and lasting allure of girlfriend pretty to the glossy fakery of model hotness. And I will be in it for the long haul, there for the first appearance and entire lifespan of every wrinkle, every expression line, every bit of crow's feet. And I will be loving every minute of it, because it will be part of the story told by your absorbing, captivating, beauteous, enchanting, winsome face. A story that should be told because it is the story of you. So please, I beg of you, do whatever you have to remove that greasy, powdery, pore-clogging pseudo-enhancement that acts as a barrier between the real you and the rest of the world. And by the rest of the world, I of course mean me. Oh my God, you're so pretty. You're so pretty that you make me nervous. Okay, so everything makes me nervous. But you make me this unique kind of nervous, which causes the narcissism that I've come to rely on so heavily just melt away, and then I just want to fill your eyes with pleasure. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure how to do that, but the point is that I want to. I want to so badly that I start to sweat and tremble, and finally I pass out, and I wake up in the back of an ambulance with two paramedics crouching over me, telling me that my blood pressure is 200 over 140, and that my pulse is over 100, and they don't know what's wrong with me, but they're really worried because they think that my heart is about to explode. And that's not good. I need my heart, because besides being the organ responsible for the pumping of oxygenated blood to the body and oxygen-poor blood to the lungs for reoxygenation, the heart is also there to remind me that you are smart and talented and sweet and sexy and brave and unconventional and disturbing and fascinating and pretty. You're so goddamn motherfucking pretty. And quite frankly, I really hate feeling this way because, well, on the one hand, it's great to be in a relationship where the police never have to be called because I feel safe falling asleep in an apartment which contains my lover, cutlery, and my penis. I am, on the other hand, confused and intimidated by these things which you earthlings call love and happiness, being much more comfortable with states of mind like despair and disgust and paranoia and rage. Although, on yet another hand, After decades of therapy in which I have struggled to break down the walls which have been put up by my subconscious as a manifestation of a fear of intimacy deeply rooted in childhood issues of abandonment and self-esteem, I finally had my first breakthrough when I helped you on with your coat.
And Sarah's Sarah's up next, and then Larry.
Happy anniversary. Clarion readings. Thank you, Greg. This is my favorite place to be. So, okay. I'm going to read a few really short poems. I'll leave off the titles. Oh, and speaking of cornbread, I remember making cornbread from the commodity cornmeal that we used long ago, that the government gave us. And you know what? If they starve us, you know what they say, revolutions start with bread riots, so watch out. Because I saw the kid going up the escalator above me, I didn't recognize against the light of day we rose up to. I finally got housing, he said, looking back at me. Oh good, I called up, rather tonelessly. I don't know. I need to go buy oranges quickly before the workers are all rounded up and put in those camps the street kids were all talking about all those years ago. Blood oranges. The curse they bear burned into their hearts. Inherit the broken earth. They are now Jesus' age, those two beloved Ephebes, both 33. What did you come here to do? Had little to do with me. He sat on the tipping bus shelter seat, desperately from crown to feet, all spiritus, eternal in the image I caught. You think not? And the last one. This was a nightmare. Visions of a vast food court in an extincting mall. People lounging exhausted at the scattered tables, some naked, heads thrown back, gasping for existence. Nothing else mattered but oblivion's appetite, children's severed limbs, so young and tender, too obvious for words. Thank you.
I just want to mention that Sarah will be featured next month along with Alejandro Murguia. Okay, up next we've got Larry Beresford.
Thank you. Hi. Hi. This is the first draft. I wrote it this morning, but we'll go ahead and read it. The streetlights of Leon, Mexico, flown over early evening, spread straight but not quite perpendicular, persistent rows as far as I can see. A carnival, like a multicolored candy, stands out, flashing, spinning, thrilling. What happens to a city of 2 million when the lights go out, whether from climate change, politics, or any number of social disruptions? Won't those people try to stay in their homes for as long as possible? Can they go out into the streets at night? with lanterns, with chaperones, in packs, with guns for protection? How will all the other cities respond when bad goes for worse? How will our persistent species redefine how we live, how we eat, how we sleep at night? Maybe not a multicolored candy cone carnival, but we knew how to have fun before electricity, before TV or internet or influencers. With the young leading the way, we'll do it again. One more. This is about flying too, I guess. Kite Hill. Berkeley's Kite Hill, even without the crowds for its celebrated kite festival, is buffeted by winds off the bay. Today it is sprinkled with families, dog walkers, kids with cheap paper kites, a green chevron with a black and white tail that loops and dives to rise again, and a silver-bearded skateboarder raising a parasail as he zips past. A kite is such a simple thing. Easy as flying a kite, they say. Just a sail, a tail, and a pocket full of wind will lift it as high as its tether permits. When your kite is flying high, your spirit goes with it. But when I was a kid, I couldn't elevate one to save my life. No matter how hard I tugged and dashed, it crashed, leaving me earthbound. Was it lack of elevation, lack of wind, or something lacking in me? If only I could have captured the grace of a soaring kite for when I needed it most. The power of uncomplicated joy, losing myself utterly in anything. Wait a minute. What if I could grasp that kind of grace when I truly need it most? When my soul is called to lift, cut loose, and fly. Thank
you. Right. Thank you. I think we'll have one more open mic before we have our feature of the afternoon, Chun Yu. Rose Mark.
I won't do intros because I'm trying to squeeze this in. Being Chinese, I walk through Chinatown, Oakland's Chinatown, to the old Oakland Farmers Market every Friday morning. Chinese voices, different dialects, familiar music once played, but my father streams past me. My parents' voices are fading from my life. They are gone. He, over 30 years ago. She, just recently, at 101. I have no one in my life that speaks Cantonese. I need to be hearing Cantonese being spoken. I need to hear the rhythm, tones, voices of my parents, ancestors. I read somewhere that Cantonese will eventually become a lost dialect. Mom and Dad were born in China. My siblings and I were born in Hawaii. My parents encouraged us to speak the language of the place we settled, California, USA. They spoke Chinese to us and insisted we responded in English. As a result, we can understand Chinese, but are quite limited in our spoken ability. I am pure-blooded Chinese that morphed into being a Chinese American because my parents wanted me to adapt, adjust, assimilate, acculturate, to be one with the dominant culture. I took on American trappings, influenced by the clothes, speech, and attitude of my peers. My Chinese being was gradually compressed under the construction of what it was to be a Chinese American, though occasionally it cropped up when ordering Chinese food. I can cook Chinese food, but I'm more skilled at cooking foods from around the world, especially the Middle East. It's kind of sad. With mom and dad no longer around to speak Chinese to me, and my siblings and family members not speaking the language either, I feel my Chineseness drifting away. Every week I need my hit of hearing the language, experience the ways of being Chinese by being amongst my people. Thus, my walk through Chinatown on the way to the old Oakland Farmers Market. I soak in the love, care, and honoring of their elders by watching daughters, sons assist their aging parents throughout the market. I'm washed with a feeling of kinship with my exchange with other Chinese shoppers. One week after purchasing a bunch of moringa leaves, an old Chinese grandma leaned over and asked me what I was doing with those leaves. I told her, using my limited Chinese, that I would make a soup with it and broke off a bunch for her. Tears came to my eyes, my heart filled with sadness and love, remembering Mom, who often asked strangers the same kind of questions when I took her to Chinatown to shop. This was her once-a-week opportunity to converse with other Chinese folks. Most of her friends had passed away or could no longer visit her. After shopping, I stopped at a nearby Chinese restaurant for lunch. The waitresses speak the same dialect I grew up with. I can understand them and love overhearing their conversations between customers and other waitstaff. They've come to recognize that I understand them when I answer them correctly in English. This encourages them to take my order in Chinese. This is almost as good as hearing Mom speak to me. 3 young Chinese men come into the restaurant. They appear to look like they're not too far removed from their roots. Perhaps their parents are from China, not Hong Kong. ABC, American-born Chinese, can spot folks who are newly arrived from China. Which of these kids are closely tied to their parents and tradition? Which ones are in transition into being American, shedding their roots for new cloths, skin of being American? How much will they lose along the way? I'm afraid that my children have already lost a chunk of this, and my mixed-race African-American, Russian, Polish grandson, and what do they know of their Chinese culture? What it means, what's important, and all the underground influences? Will they be able to identify the subtle influences that they've been born with? So subtle, they aren't even aware of how their perspectives, reactions, and responses are shaped by ways unseen, unsaid, passed on to them from generations they have never met. Do they know that fatalism, accepting the inevitable, is deeply rooted within their DNA? That their obsession and hunger for food, their quest for when and where the next meal will come from, has its roots from past generations experiencing famine? I sit, slurping my rice porridge, listening to the voices of Chinese waitresses, customers. And I am in my parents' home again, once a week, every Friday, in Oakland, Chinatown. Thank you. Ooh, wow. Green. Thank you.
Great. Well, before we bring Chun back up for her set, I'm going to share a poem of mine. And this is entitled Runaway Jim, and it may or may not be a true story. Probably not. After that last whipping, just before they were fixing to sell him, Runaway Jim organized a team of soon-to-be escapees. Destination, freedom by way of hell, through God knows where, though time would tell. 6 slipped by, one at a time, once the sun fell. They followed the stars for light, laid low in cotton fields, or hid behind magnolia trees. Some days they sought cover from the fury of pounding rains, under the roof of abandoned shacks. Some nights they walked for miles, slept on their callous feet, or only catnapped. Sometimes the raised scars from the lashes on Jim's back became the contours of a relief map they used, while at other times they followed their sixth sense or phases of the moon, always with divine inspiration to guide them through the snake-filled swamps and coastal lagoons, until they could spy the blanket from the safe house, where the late lamp burning bright let them know the coast was clear, but only till dawn opened its eyes. They barely closed theirs before it was time to move on. They listened for horse-drawn wagons and the barks of hunting dogs. Sun blazing, sweat stinging, 7 singing spirituals about heaven, early gospel and work songs, swing low and steal away, filled with hidden codes, sung slow in the language of stowaways and the recently escaped. The road they walked was thorny through dirt, grass, gravel, and clay. The long-awaited arrival at a northern destination brought some sense of relief, though not a cessation to the fear they were feeling each day. With slave catchers practically on their heels, freedom never a guaranteed deal, and the deck stacked against them every restless step of the way. Follow the runaway train on underground railroad tracks. Follow the twisting river along emancipation's path. Follow the heartbeat of the Harriet Tubman man. Follow the trail of scars on a runaway's back. Follow the road that leads to anywhere. A people don't have to live in fear just because their skin is black. Chun Yu, who you heard earlier, is an award-winning bilingual poet, artist, and translator. She is the author of the memoir in verse, Little Green, Growing Up During the Chinese Cultural Revolution by Simon & Schuster, and a graphic novel in progress. She is a San Francisco Public Library Laureate 2023 and a 2020 YBCA 100 awardee. Her poetry and translations are published by Orion Poetry, Arian Press, Poetry Northwest, and others. She's a Pushcart Prize nominee 2021 and 2022. She co-founded 2 Languages, 1 Community with Michael Warr to connect Chinese and African American communities and Chinese American stories to present Chinese immigration history. And you can follow her at chunyu.org. Chun Yu, please come to the stage.
Thank you so much, Red, for such a wonderful introduction. Thank you. And so glad to be with you all here, still during the Chinese New Year. So the first poem I'm going to read is called Poetry.
It's my love letter to poetry and all of the poets that ever existed in this world, and including all of you here. Poetry. Poems are birds in the kingdoms of languages, always flying towards each other and the paradise. Poetry is a time tunnel through which you and I gaze at each other. Time immemorial and now. Every year the world is breaking apart. Every year love would not end. Poetry puts death behind you, you in front of me. Our faces remain the same. Poetry turns the past into now, now into the past. Our breaths remain the same. When poetry loses the borders of languages, you and I fall into boundless silence. Our eyes remain the same. Together, perhaps, we hear the song of the universe. Together, perhaps, we are in paradise. And in Chinese, by the way, this is published on Orion as a bilingual broadside. They did a beautiful presentation. I'm deeply grateful. 诗歌是语言国度里的鸟儿，总是朝着彼此和天堂飞去。诗歌是时光里的隧道，让你从远古和我对望。山河年年破碎，岁岁情深未了。诗歌把死亡放在了你的身后，把你放在了我的眼前，面色如初。诗歌把过去变成了现在，把现在变成了过去，气息如初。当诗歌失去了语言的边界，你我落入无边的静默，目光如初。我们或许一起听见了宇宙的声音，我们或许一起就在天堂。The next poem is written for my ancestors who came here during the railway time. And you guys probably all know the Point Bonita, marine headland. There is a lighthouse. It's absolutely beautiful. So I've been going there for years, and then one day I met a ranger, and he told me the tunnel, the long dark tunnel, leads to the lighthouse, was built actually by railway workers after they finished the railway. They came to the coast here. Their home is on the other side of the ocean, but they had nowhere to go and they were not wanted. And because the rocks are so loose, and it's very dangerous to use machines, so they use hand tools. They dug the whole tunnel, but it's not officially recorded. And so it's really, I'm sure many of you know the history of Chinese railway builders, and many of them have actually died along the railway, and their names are not really recorded. So thousands of them actually were injured and many of them died. So I came to the lighthouse with that knowledge. I just imagined how they felt when they dug through the tunnel at the lighthouse. So this is a poem for all of us who are immigrants, and for all of us who have ancestors who came here and standing in front of the ocean, looking across the ocean to the homeland they left behind. So the lighthouse, an iron door opens to a dark tunnel through a giant rock chiseled a long time ago by bare hands and hand tools, hands that came from across the ocean, hands that chiseled through the continent, hands that built the railroad Trans-America. A land these hands touched deeply, a land these hands died for, a land these hands survived, a land these hands grew to love and wanted to make home. The headland of the continent, America, a giant dark rock probing into the vast water, one side the raging ocean, the other side the calm bay. Entering the tunnel, the narrow pass, my mind, engulfed by darkness and the unknowing, floats in the suddenly edgeless universe. All senses seem lost, except one, that the world is split. One side, the homeland, one side, the land of home. Until after arriving at the end of the tunnel, I see, on tip of the rock, the end of the headland, bare in rain and the wind, fog and the cloud, sun and the moon, is a lighthouse standing above the raging Pacific like a heart beating to shine for both shores. Now the poem in Chinese, and I hope the ancestors, the railway builders, their spirit must be flying somewhere, and I hope they hear this. 灯塔，铁门打开，黑暗的隧道穿过很久以前以螺手和手把工具掘通的巨石，来自大洋彼岸，着急横穿新大陆，修成太平洋铁路的辛劳之手，深深触摸过的大地，未知而死去的大地，幸存于斯的大地，已然爱上的大地，期望成为家园的大地的甲子。巨大的黑暗的岩石，美洲大地的夹角，探入广阔的水域，一侧是汹涌的大海，一侧是平静的海湾。进入狭窄的隧道，脑海被黑暗与无明吞噬，突然漂浮于无边的宇宙，万感顿失，唯存一念，世界是分裂的，一边是故乡，一边是家园。直到走出隧道的尽头，才豁然而见，夹角之端岩石之上，裸露在风和雨、雾和云、日和月中，是伫立于汹涌的太平洋之上的灯塔，像一颗星，为此岸和彼岸无尽的跳动、闪耀。Thank you. I'm sorry?
Cantonese and
That's Mandarin. Yeah. Yeah. Too bad I don't speak Cantonese.
There's no written Cantonese, right? This written Mandarin that writes for Cantonese, the Mandarin oral?
Yeah, one can read this in Cantonese.
Oh, you can?
Any volunteers from the audience? No? Okay. Okay, I will learn Cantonese in the future. So another poem is called Cotton. So I grew up in China during the Cultural Revolution. And during the history, China was completely isolated from the rest of the world then. But in our history classes, we learn about the Black history here. And I've never seen a foreigner then, right? But I imagine these little black children, because children, they imagine foreigners as children, right? So I knew from the history class lessons and that even young children were picking cotton in the South, and I just understood what they went through, because part of the time when my parents actually, during the Cultural Revolution, many families were split. And my mom was sent to teach in a country school. My father was being educated in the countryside as well. Lots of people were sent to the countryside. And I grew up actually a lot of time in my grandma's country house. We were surrounded by cotton fields. So I went to cotton to pick for fun. But I understand it's not the same story for those little black children. So years later, I wrote a poem called Cotton. Cotton. All I could think of was little black hands picking, and then picking snow white cotton. When I was a child, learning about your people's fate on the other side of the ocean in a winter classroom with no heating, my country, red and deep in revolution, isolated from the rest of the world. I heard slavery, a term ancient and distant, re-denounced where I sat with frozen toes, trembling with indignation and a yearning for justice. The original shine, the pure goodness at the heart of a child. Revolution or not, red, black, or other. I had never met a child of another color, and all I could think of was little black faces smiling like blooming cotton flowers, bursting warmth in the summer harvest. All I could think of was little black hands giving warm white cotton away. Little black hands snatched from hands of mama and grandma. Little black hands forever lost in the vast world. Little black hands forever reaching at a loss. Little black hands forever wiping tears, clear and salty, just like my own when I missed my mama, as I snuggled against my grandma. Under an ancient oil lamp, her hands roughened from picking cottons for the ism and the revolution, which we must all love and give everything to. Stitching and cushioning shoes, night after night, with a few handfuls of cotton rationed to her, and a long thread she spun with a wooden spindle, spinning since the beginning of time and a memory to keep my feet warm. Little black hands, where was your cotton? Where was your thread? Where were your mama and grandma?
I had never met a child of another color. When I learned your history as a child, all I could feel was your ocean of tears flooding into the yellow sea, rushing the shore 100 miles away. Yeah, I just have one more. So I actually have Chinese versions of every poem, but we don't have that much time. I think I'm happy you had a taste of poetry in Chinese already for the first two poems. So this poem I wrote for my dear parents, and so my dad is still here. My mom passed a little over a year ago. So when I was home visiting them in China, every time I go out, right, they want to know exactly where I'm going. So they take out a map, and my family nickname is Little Green. My father say, Little Green, I point at the point where you're going on this map. It could be like just a few blocks away. It could be like the next trip around the world and back here. So that image never left me. So one day I wrote this poem for them. And it was actually dedicated by Clarion Press to all the people who endured the pandemic. So they did a broadside, beautiful broadside for this poem. So the map. When I was born, your bosom was the map. I occupied all of it in your cradling arms. When I began to walk, your eyesight was a map. I learned my steps, toddling and waddling in your adoring gaze. When I started school, your mind became the map. I ventured out and back from morning to night in your unceasing care. When I grew up and left home, from hometown to other towns, home country to other countries, your heart became the map. I searched far and wide, high and low, for my direction and a place in the world, in your loving thoughts. Each time I set out for a journey, you asked for my destination, studied an open map, accurately locating the point of my being. Then one day, you picked up a magnifying glass, eyes moving closer and closer, hands trembling more and more. Finally, at a loss, no longer seeing clearly the lines and the points on the map, you hold me in your heart. Growing older and older, you can now only walk in my eyesight, fumbling steps, every trip outside, an adventure. From now on, I will walk by your side so you can lean on me. When we are at a loss, not knowing where to go, love is the map. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy New Year again. Thank you.
Another hand for Chun Yu, please. All right, this is more open mic slots. We've got Cesar, and I believe this is May Harbon.
Yeah.
And Garrett, and Catherine, and JJ Rush. Anyone else who'd like to read who hasn't signed in? Okay, all right, Cesar. You're on deck.
All right, thank you.
So the first poem is called Last Casino. There are 3 players in this game: time, myself, and death. Very few win at this table, yet I have an idea to trick time to outwit death. Music plays in this casino. If I simply leave before a favorite song ends, if I nonchalantly leave this table and saunter out the door, then the one I love will live. The one I love will glide on, a never-ending song refrain, and I will dance along. Death and time know my plan. They also know that it will work. Still, they are cold opponents. They have spied my cards. Both know I have more hearts than spades, and both know all my favorite songs. Death and time know which songs could chain me to a table, and they control the music. Thanks. This one's called Photographs Not Taken. Not the selfie before the pyramid, not the banquet where we ate and gorged, the falcons in formation above your chimney, the crime you witnessed but your testimony ignored, the lakeside stroll when sunset rays revealed her truest beauty. Maybe you held your camera but were too in awe. It never became a photo. Now it's a minor regret. But somewhere in the head's rear lobe, snapshot memories keep in Kodachrome. Some are stored in black and white, some in sepia tone. There they fade like everything else. Finally, you are cremated. Your mind's gallery turns ash. Then they become something to touch. Each picture a shingle on the scales of the wings of your moth. And this one's called The River Declaims. I am not the Nile. I am not the Mississippi. My legends have been forgotten. I am the river that separates your county from the next. You have crossed over me many times without reflection. I invite you to walk alongside me. Hear my laughter as I ride over pebbles, tickled by their smallness. Together we tumble on my floor. Listen for my tears as I flow through willows, saddened by their limbs, seeking someone, something to hold. Observe me as I cascade over cliffs. I am bold as the sky. I am proven as my plummet. Discover my peace as I offer a cool sanctuary in pools of stillness, a quiet only broken by concentric ripples of ancient fish who play by my surface. Painters do not frame me. Writers cannot narrate me, as I am beyond frames of paper. Musicians have approached me, but none have grasped me. I am more mutable than mind, yet constant as the stars. I have one more. It's very short. It's called Fresh Passport. Issued by myself. New playgrounds, new loves. All right, thank you very much. Of course.
thanks for your photo taking.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. So, how many of you know what a golem is?
A little louder?
A golem. Anybody know what a golem is? Okay, so there's one person. All right, so when I was a kid, there was a children's book that was read in my class, and it was called Golem. For those of you who don't know, a golem is clay that has been given sentient life. And I remember as a kid that image and that story it stuck with me. And I thought, do golems have souls? Does it matter if they have souls? When the job of a golem is over and it becomes clay again, how do you feel about that? How does it feel about that? Orange flakes off your fingers as you wipe your brow, and from beneath emerges a placid forehead for just a few seconds, before a deep sigh and mousy squint beckon back seemingly frozen ripples. Your construction is always deliberate, as my life force is never flung or slapped against my slowly forming visage. You've molded my cheeks with warm, cupped palms, unearthed my lashes with deft strokes, and cast a mixture of sleepy melancholy beneath my eyes. You've parted my lips, but also curled them at their corners. On my face, coyness is cured of its impermanence. I remember when I first caught your scent, musty with a tinge of shea and nutmeg, even in its mangled beginnings, before it looked as symmetric as you could bear, before you ran your thumb down its bridge for the last time, my nose could discern your work from play. A flurry of compression and smearing constructs my ears. I now hear, instead of just see, your exasperated sigh. The bunching of your shoulders sounds so helpless as they're dropping demands that you continue on. I shudder when you knead your thumb into my earlobe as your warmth kisses me behind the jaw. I wish I could lean in closer to collect your almost inaudible murmurs. Murmurs that echo even after you leave, even after you turn out the light. This time that belongs to me, is agony. Purpose is not a member of my lexicon, and without your prescient attention, I am nothing.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Garrett, and then Catherine, and JJ. Want to read? And anyone else would like to read, please sign up.
This is Hugh Brisson of Meddling News. We have breaking news tonight. Breaking news. Authorities have reported that after a year-long manhunt, they have finally apprehended the serial murderer dubbed Mr. Punch. Due to eerie similarities between his actions and those of the Punch character in the centuries-old puppet show Punch and Judy. There are, however, a few differences noted by eyewitnesses, the most notable of which that instead of the stick known as a slapstick, this Punch doppelganger uses a flagpole, complete with old Laureate herself, the kind with an eagle on top of which he impales his victims, all of whom also bear striking resemblance to various other characters in that show, even in some cases those long thought out of passion. All that is, except the first, whom authorities have been at a loss to identify, though curiously there appear to be two Judys among the victims. Our roving reporter Ken Marmy is live right now with the SWAT and Homeland Security teams who are proudly displaying the heavily shackled assassin's Punch. Yes, you. We are right here. We are right here with members of SWAT and Homeland Security bringing out the heavily shackled Punch impersonator so we can get a statement from him. Now, you imposter, hold it, Kevin. We have a bulletin coming in. Authorities have finally identified the bogus Punch's first victim. He happens to be the original Mr. Punch. That is a shocker, Hugh, but then who is this wait that just taken off his mask? No, it's Donald Trump. But of course it's me. Who else could have taken out that grinning, ugly, un-American foreign twerp with that hook-nosed, silly hat and scrawny pogo stick but me? Now, if you'll excuse me, watch out, he's somehow broken free of his bondage. He's got no other flagpole. I'm gonna show you all the way to really do it. Camden, SWAT team, Homeland Security, we just lost our signal. Dear viewers, I promise we'll keep trying to get back to Camden at all possible. Wait is coming in. They're identifying the rest of the victims. The first Judy has been identified as Rosie O'Donnell. The baby was Marco Rubio. The constable was Reince Priebus, chair of the Republican Party. The crocodile was Chris Christie. Pretty Polly was Carly Fiorina. Joey the clown was Rand Paul. Toby the dog was Bobby Jindal. The lawyer is Lindsey Graham. The ghost was Rick Santorum. The second Judy has been identified as Megan Kelly. Mr. Scaramouche was Jeb Bush. Jim Crow the black man was Ben Carson. The doctor was John Kasich. The skeleton was George Pataki. Jack Ketchum Hangman was Mike Huckabee. And the devil was Ted Cruz. Ladies and gentlemen, this is hubris warning all to remain wary at all times. For it appears there is a new Mr. Punch on the loose. If we can somehow hear from Camden's Marmy or the SWAT team of Homeland Security, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, watch out, please.
All right, up next is, thank you, Garrett. Catherine is up next. Catherine still here? Okay, if Catherine's not here, then we'll go with J.J. Rush. And after J.J., we'll close with Andrew.
I'm trying to do two. You know, these are very strange times, right? And how we all fit in sometimes can be sort of difficult. This first poem is one I did some time ago. There's no such thing as Goliath. The people need to be free, especially families rich in battlefield legacy. For certain, the likes of a Christmas addict cannot really die, nor can nationhood and brotherhood be just another lie. And what brave soul would dare to say, Toussaint, the overture is dead and forgotten. For certain, Toussaint is alive and all of us at bottom. But in the hordes of men that regularly balk when crossing life's flesh line, many fail to live full lives because of the prospect of dying. But out of the bush, time and time again, the likes of a Marcus Garvey emerges, prophetic, magnificent, and brilliantly defiant to all of the purges. Goliath have 1,000 fears, and many of them are seen. But we have nothing to fear, and in this we reign supreme. Well, out of the magical universe, the magic of life is clear. Prepare yourself to live your life and do those things you hold most dear, because at death's door when ere you knock, no longer touched by the phrase, your golden performance like Dr. King's The Part That Could Not Die, it will live forever in the streams your children will nourish by. Thank you. This next one is a poem devoted to all you lovers at, what is it? Valentine's Day? I would love, well, that was a dawning, blasting with luminosity on my mother's sensational sacrificial surrender. Then came your 43 unwrapped gifts, fittingly displayed a ribbon blouse tunic. From gingham colors, I hear splendid promises of gold. To steal my hand, since justice cannot be punished, let approaching karma seal every violator to secret cells. The moon crescent orb to Sisyphus's return catches you on your knees. A splendid frame for redemption at last. So let those blood-stained hands be washed clean in the pure love of messianic forgiveness. Fear our mission, proud mission, to walk across mountain crag tops, rescuing from thousands pain's dark colors. Victorious? Yes, but also guilty. We push the stone of brother X to escape from the universal insipidity called death. And the time has come to ask, will our love survive the cycle of running people? Or will you become queen heir only to my name? I stand in the wings of our passing, hoping you will pause for a while and that heaven will provide you a full-blown paradise. Therefore, I ask of you, how long faith ye wait, and will wait, my love, forever. Thank you. Yeah.
Andrew, yes, please step up. And you will be our closer for the afternoon.
I know at readings you're not supposed to have any caveats, but I just had surgery yesterday and I wasn't sure I could make it. And so coming here, I'm sorry that I missed the featured poets here. But this is something that appeared to me last night after anesthesia, sort of like a dream. And so it's a very short thing. So it's mixed lingo, because I thought it was appropriate in this audience. It's part Cantonese and part English. Thai, King Gai, Cho Ha Ting, O Bui Guai Zai, which means, look, let's chat. Don't go yet. Darling, good son. My father's voice in this pyramidal pagoda poem in Cantonese syllables echoed in my ears when I was 8, and I wondered why the darling good son of me did not appear until the 4th line. He can't answer the query of my 8-year-old mind now from the box of ashes in the columbarium. He was never a man of many words, but the few he said, I hold close to my heart. He pulled me aside when I kicked the chef because he didn't make what I requested. You should always be extra kind to those under you because they don't have a voice. Don't be afraid to speak up to those above you in life. And the first time I meet to read in an open mic thing. But I'm glad I be here. Thank you. Take the green.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
And
I remember you from the last time at the Orion Press also. I think you were there weren't you with Ying, Ching, last time, or was somebody else?
No,
That was Michael.
Well, Michael.
Oh, Michael. Oh,
He's sick
He was
today.
supposed to
Had
be here.
pneumonia.
I'm sorry to hear that. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so Greg read his poem actually.
I see. Okay. Okay. I'm
Oh, thank you.
pardon about the
Thank you
mistake.
so much.
But I'm so glad that I was able to make it. I'm sorry that I missed you.
Oh, but
Yeah.
you had surgery yesterday.
Yes.
Everybody made it.
So I didn't wear my mask.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all. One and all. Anyone else who wanted to read that didn't get a chance to read? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming out. Thanks to Chun Yu for a wonderful feature, and for Michael Warr for providing us wonderful poems, and wishing him and Kevin speedy recoveries. And thank you all. Next month we'll be back on April 19th. March 15th. March 15th with Sarah Menifee and Alejandro Murguia, who is a former poet laureate of San Francisco. So please come out, have a wonderful weekend, Happy New Year, Happy Black History, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep love and peace in your heart spread around the world. Thank you all so much. Thank you to the staff of Clarion, Clara and the staff for their wonderful work.